They did it again. 12 years after their first game that still gets updated to this day. And 4 years after they launched the Kickstarter campaign for their new game, they released another gem. Not a hidden gem, not a diamond in the rough, but a shiny pearl of a game. Mina The Hollower is a worthy successor to the highly acclaimed Shovel Knight, giving us pretty much everything the first game did and so much more, so much greater, more expansive. It swapped the NES aesthetic for a Game Boy Color one and traded Shovel Knight's simplicity for abundant complexity. Which also means Mina's adventure is a bit less approachable than its older brother and it offers more room for missteps. Things I'd certainly consider flaws, but with how much you get to do in this game, this is to be expected. But first, let me welcome all you beautiful gamerinos and gamerinas to another one of my videos. This is Rady, and today I'm going to take a look, or two or three, at Mina The Hollower. What we got here is a top-down Game Boy style action adventure. It looks pretty much like Link's Awakening or the Oracle games. I mean, you could argue that pretty much any Game Boy top-down action adventure could be the inspiration, and of course we find the DNA of a lot of games in here, but just the general art style for how environments are set out, for our main character and the way she jumps, screen transitions. It's so Zelda. But it also has very much this distinct and iconic Shovel Knight, or I guess Yacht Club style, with the cartoonish character designs often modeled after animals, interface, idle animations and of course the amazing music. That one once again slaps right from the beginning and could be a straight continuation from the whole Shovel Knight collection. As a big fan of Shovel Knight, I felt right at home with the whole presentation. Now, where Shovel Knight was a rather authentic NES Mega Man or DuckTales clone, for lack of a better word, with a few extras, Mina The Hollower is its own thing. Yeah, I compared it to Zelda before and I will surely do so many more times, but this is more so in relation to specific elements of the game, not the game as a whole. This isn't Zelda but with this extra mechanic or something. While it borrows its broader art style from the Zelda Game Boy games, promoting it as a Zelda clone would give people the wrong impression. This game combines elements from a lot of different games to create a very distinct gameplay style. The overall presentation, again, resembles Zelda a lot, with you fighting enemies in this top-down perspective and also use your different weapons to solve environmental puzzles. But you don't collect a huge arsenal of tools and choose whatever you need for any given challenge. Your sidearms are closer to Castlevania's sub-weapons. They drop from breakable objects and require a special resource to be used. You can only carry one at a time and it's lost on death. That also means puzzles or platforming challenges more often than not don't require one specific sidearm, but can be tackled in all manner of ways. It's up to you to come up with a creative solution. Combat has been compared to Dark Souls quite a bit, and I can see why. While all these elements are nothing new anymore and haven't been invented by demons or Dark Souls, those games as well as their many successors and followers have popularized certain mechanics, and the term Souls-like has become a useful shorthand to refer to those mechanics. Like losing your experience points on death, which Shovel Knight did as well with the money bags you could reclaim if you made it back to where you have fallen without dying again. But here they gave the system its own spin, because you don't immediately lose all your bones. Yeah, for some reason you collect skeletal remains to level up and buy things. You see, you start the game with one MacGuffin called Spark. It's the thing that makes anything happen in this game, and you have one. By equipping certain items or buying upgrades you can increase that number. Mostly you just use it to not lose your bones, but it's sometimes required to open special doors, for whatever reason. Don't ask me, it is as it is. Whenever you die, your spark either gets absorbed by the enemy who killed you or drops to the floor. Not every enemy can absorb sparks, and some can hold onto more than others. To reclaim it, you have to collect it from the ground or defeat the enemy that absorbed it. So long as you still have one spark on you, you never lose your bones. But if you lost all your sparks and die again, all your bones are gone. They don't drop to the floor, they're not held onto by an enemy, they're just gone. So the system starts off more lenient than Dark Souls and becomes more punishing when you actually lose your XP. The fighting itself is also much more focused on enemies with varied and distinct movesets and attack patterns. Hard-hitting blows with little room for mistakes. Those enemies don't act like your typical Zelda enemies. They are aggressive, corner you, jump and dash around, throw projectiles or summon hazards. At times they feel like they belong in an action platformer and not a top-down action adventure. You have to observe their movements, learn the ins and outs of your weapons and master the different movement mechanics to dodge their relentless attacks. Yeah, this is not an easy game. People call Shovel Knight hard, which I don't really agree with. More challenging than a lot of mainstream platformers, sure, but still very lenient, with infinite lives, generous checkpoints and many tools to make the challenges more approachable. But this game here doesn't hold back. Oh, there's also many ways to make the challenges easier, but this doesn't always go a long way. Your super strong attack means nothing if you don't manage to hit the enemy or don't have enough time to charge up your attacks. The perfect sidearm for a boss might not be available to you at the time. Or maybe all your special tools are meaningless because you have trouble learning an enemy's attack or movement pattern. And a huge part of challenge in this game is the devilish healing system. Again, similar to many Souls games, you have a limited healing resource that replenishes when you respawn, or when you find the odd hidden refill. But here again, there's a twist to it. Your healing vials don't just replenish a fixed amount of health, you have to charge them yourself by attacking enemies or collecting special flowers. So potentially, each vial can heal you up to full health from 1 HP, if you manage to deal enough damage without getting hit yourself, because that makes you lose a small amount of your charge. Now this doesn't sound too bad at first, but you can only start charging the vial once you've lost health, and you can't store more in it than the amount you have already lost. So hitting enemies on full health does nothing. And let's say you lost just a little bit of health, charged your vial to its current maximum, and then an enemy is just wailing on you, bringing you down to a sliver of your health. Even if you didn't lose all your accumulated charge, which you do, you could only heal up a small amount now. So you have to put yourself in danger and go on the offense, which often results in a quick death. This becomes rather annoying when you're in a trap-filled area or platforming challenge where there are no enemies to charge your vial. That's so... this is shit when you know you can only take one more hit but you can't heal. And this is something to keep in mind. This can make or break your enjoyment of the game. I freaking love the game, but I've also been cursing like a sailor while playing it. Oh no, don't murder me! God damn it, she does so much damage. This is so unfair. He is almost dead and for... I didn't even notice he got me a second time with this weird munch attack. And I didn't even fucking realize. Fucking hell. And in stark contrast to Shovel Knight, the heightened challenge isn't always fair. The penalty for dying, at least on a sparkless death, is high. The last checkpoint might be far away, especially with the non-linear layout of the world not guaranteeing you coming across the closest checkpoint. Healing isn't reliable. Enemies strike fast, hard and relentlessly, and sometimes there's just too much going on. Sometimes there's multiple enemies who all have little to no recovery time to counterattack, surrounded by spikes or bottomless pits that they can safely stand on. It's not always intuitive to tell how to dodge their attacks, whether you're supposed to jump over or duck under or avoid them altogether. It's hard to know where the collision on the larger enemies occurs, when are you safely behind them, when do you still get damaged. And the thing that kinda disappoints me the most, because they nailed it in Shovel Knight, the enemies can pull completely new attacks out of their asses to inflict tons of damage and require certain maneuvers to avoid them. How should I know the first time around that the pig that jumps straight to where I stand also creates a hazard zone around it a moment later? Your first instinct is to jump out of the way, just to land in the spikes. That's just mean, and the game likes to do this a lot. At least give me one chance to observe the move before I have to deal with it. You already have only a tiny bit of room to maneuver around, and enemy damage boxes are rather generous in their favor. But man, when you figured them out, when you got to grips with your equipment and your own moveset, when it's actually your skill against the game's challenge, then the whole system creates a really thrilling experience. The combat is tense, You try to make the most out of your healing, try to isolate enemies from each other or group them together for a strong AoE attack. You're always on the move because letting enemies come to you is often not a good idea. You need to dictate the flow of battle or the enemies quickly gang up on you. So you need to outsmart them, position yourself optimally. It's so incredibly fun. And a big part of it is the burrowing mechanic. Whenever you hold down the jump button when you land, Mina burrows into the ground for a short time. You're faster while burrowing and you can tunnel under certain barriers and characters. It's one way to avoid many attacks, a very important one that you need to master. This isn't a quick dodge roll. You first have to jump, remain a moment in the air and then dive into the ground. Enough time for another attack to hit you and cancel the whole maneuver, leaving you open for a follow-up attack. Post-hit invincibility or not. But it also gives you a lot of options. You can quickly put distance between you and the enemy, re-emerge under certain objects to lift them up and throw them. Diving out of the ground also boosts your jump, giving you a valid option to approach enemies and get a quick hit in. You can even charge up your attacks in mid-jump. Combat in this game is so dynamic. Enemies can easily rush you and wail on you, but you can do the same. If you get into the zone, if this speaks to you, it will be so rewarding. But it can also ruin the whole experience, as it has for quite a few people. My favorite element of this game though isn't the catchy music or the charming visuals or the frenetic and challenging combat. It's the exploration, the sense of discovery, both in traversing the game world and coming up with unique solutions to problems and creative uses of the game's systems. The game world is huge with so many different biomes and locations and chock full of secret areas, hidden paths, side areas and lots of treasure locked behind puzzles and platforming challenges. We get the burning streets of a Victorian town and the bustling town center. For the water level we get a colorful bayou. One area is a large cemetery leading into a crypt that's the closest we get to an actual dungeon, at least as far as I've seen until now. Even the snow level has more to it, with it being the crash site of a derailed train and the last resting place of all the souls who lost their lives that day. Nothing is just standard with these locations. It's not entirely original, but there's always something more to it. A bit more to the setting or a creative spin on the gameplay tied to the environment. Your burrow ability is utilized slightly different depending on where you are in the game world. Burrowing lets you tunnel under fences and the like, enter holes and powers up your jump a bit. In the graveyard you find a lot of hidden areas that way. When burrowing in the water, you can actually use it to swim for a little bit, which you need to utilize cleverly to make your way around. When breaking into the ice, you can't just re-emerge. Instead, Mina dashes to the edge of the frozen area to resurface, which enhances your jump even more. Sometimes you even alter the terrain by burrowing, which you have to make use of in the lava area. As soon as the prologue is over, you can go wherever you want. The world is your oyster. From what I can tell, at the start of the game, at least 4 of the 6 major areas are open to you. You can walk to the right and make your way to the graveyard, or to the left, where the path splits again towards the bayou and the forest level. Or you could grind 10,000 bones to repair the train and ride it up to the mountains. And all these different paths wind around and back into each other, lead to small side areas where you can collect more bones or special equipment. And this special equipment offers even more freedom. You have a small selection of vastly different weapons you can find and buy upgrades for to diversify your fighting style even more. But it's the trinkets where it's at. You can find a whole bunch of those trinkets behind hidden challenges, in treasure chests around the world, in secret shops or in the big shop in the main hub. And each of those alters or enhances your abilities ever so slightly. One lets you burrow for longer, one lets you send out shockwaves while burrowing. One gives you a moment of invincibility after burrowing. One summons flies that attack your foes for a short while whenever you kill an enemy. One summons a helpful spirit whenever you get hit. One summons fireballs that are dangerous to you as well. One turns you into a glass cannon. There are so many options, and over the course of the game, you get to equip more and more of those trinkets simultaneously. This all sounds so goddamn amazing, doesn't it? But the game does receive a lot of negative criticism as well. Aside from the core gameplay being somewhat divisive, there are some things I'd consider actual flaws. I mean, I already mentioned the lack of fairness in some instances, which is a big problem in my eyes. But there are also a lot of small annoyances that quickly add up. Not enough to stop me from enjoying the game, but enough to notice. For one, the interface is a bit hard to keep track of. It's all tucked away down at the bottom, while enemies are fast, deal a lot of damage, and there's not all that much room to maneuver, so you don't really want to take your eyes away from the action. I died quite a few times because I didn't notice my health dropped too low, or noticed suddenly that I only had 1 HP or so left. I also have difficulty keeping track of whether or not I still have my spark with me. This little circle at the bottom of the screen just isn't noticeable enough. Not when there's some action going on or when you're in the flow. There also doesn't appear to be a map screen within the game. Oh, at some point you can buy a map for your little safe room hideout thingy, but that one only shows you the different zones, not the actual rooms. So it's pretty much useless. And the layout of this world is so complicated, in a good way, and hides so many secrets and optional paths and areas. But good luck knowing where to find anything when you come back later. This game is in dire need of a map screen. Well, as far as I know, there might be an upgrade hidden somewhere in the game that lets you see the map, because this happened with a few issues I had. After exploring the world for a bit, killing an area boss and checking out another area, I lamented a bit the absence of a fast travel system. Well, there is one in the game. Actually, there's 2 that I know of. After you forked over 10,000 bones for the train repairs, you can use the train to travel between a handful of stations, 1 in each major area. There's also a handful of mirrors that connect to the mirror dimension and enable you to travel from one mirror to another. Both these systems are creatively implemented and fun to interact with, and certainly better than no fast travel at all, but still a bit too cumbersome to be actually useful. It's fine to only be able to travel to certain points, but why not have the ability to always access the travel method? This might not be possible when it comes to the train, but the game could give you a pocket mirror to enter the mirror dimension. But again, maybe that is already in the game and I just haven't found it yet. Same with the healing vial charging. I was wishing for a way to charge the vial without having to take damage first. And then I got a trinket that does exactly that. And I'm never gonna unequip it. The problem is that the game doesn't really explain anything. Now, this is a bit of a double-edged sword. I want to discover things for myself, without the game spoiling everything, but I still would like the game to teach me the basic things, preferably in an organic way. Now, games have been rather hand-holdy for a while now, so we've gotten a bit trained to expect things to be spelled out rather obviously, or rather, we don't expect a game to actually surprise us, to leave certain things for us to find out, to offer certain options without explicitly mentioning them. Just look at all the options you never discover in Undertale or Deltarune. I mean, I have seen people complaining that even a few hours into the game they still haven't found a way to swap weapons. Even though at the end of the prologue you're dropped square in the middle of town, surrounded by shops, one of which is the weapon shop. And in your little hideout there is a chest containing your weapons, which clearly shows that there's space for more. But yeah, the safe room, the hidden laboratory. At first I didn't even know it existed. I noticed the strange and conspicuous design of the checkpoints, but since I didn't even know that you even could burrow just so, I never played the demo, I avoided most of the marketing material. I quickly dismissed it as just a way to make you spot the checkpoints more easily. Oh, is this a checkpoint? At some point during the intro level, you are forced to figure out the burrowing ability, but I still only got it by accident. I mean, why would you hold down the jump button arbitrarily in a game with fixed airtime? What, do they expect me to read up on it in the manual section of the game menu? Is that what we're doing now? Yeah, games had manuals back in the day and most of the story and tutorials was tucked away in them. But those were actual, physical little booklets, something to read on the train ride home in anticipation of the game. And even so, having organic tutorials inside the game is universally considered a good thing. So yeah, once I knew how to burrow and even dove down some holes into underground areas, I actually did try out burrowing into a checkpoint and found the hideout, where you replenish your vials, swap weapons and trinkets and even cash out on crystallized bones you've collected. Thing is, when I started the game over to try out a different weapon and collect some footage, I entered the very first checkpoint you come across now that I knew about it. And there's actually an NPC in here, giving a sliver of exposition. Now this would have been the perfect opportunity to teach you both about burrowing and the hidden lab. Why couldn't this NPC stand outside the safe room until you approach, then jump and go into a dive straight down the checkpoint hole? That way, the game would show you how it's done and raise some intrigue. Of course you want to know what's down there, where she's gone. The game utilizes the burrowing mechanic in so many clever and creative ways. And it's fun to solve all the little puzzles, find out the solutions for yourself. But for that, the player needs to have a firm grasp on how the basic mechanics function. Then, there are a few mechanics that are unnecessarily tedious. And with so many deliberate design decisions, I'm not sure if that was an oversight or meant to work that way. Like the sidearm collector you can buy for your lab. You have to burrow into the base to deposit a copy of your sidearm in there, without any cost. You keep the sidearm and don't even lose any ammo. To retrieve it, you need to smash the glass. But the tank is in between two other objects that seem to take priority with their interaction. So sometimes, in a fit of stupidity, I use the actual reliably working interaction and burrow, which immediately deposits the weapon I'm currently holding and destroying the one in the tank. Every time you pick up another sidearm, your old one gets dropped to the ground, but not in this instance. It's just gone, because you didn't pay attention for a moment. Now this is really just a small issue and might just be a me thing. But then there's the magic shower to refill your ammo for your sidearms, which recharges tediously slowly. If you're out and about doing lots of exploring, you won't notice, but when you're stuck on a boss or difficult challenge and are relying on your sidearm, you quickly run out of ammo. Hey, I paid good money for that thing and it leaves me hanging when I need it the most. Let it refill super slowly, but maybe fill it up at least halfway whenever you die, so you get some actual use out of it. Or give me one full refill per checkpoint activation. When you cash out your saved bones, they pour out the machine and tumble around the room, so you have to pick up each one individually. Why not just give it to me? There's no reason not to pick them all up, it's just annoying. The next one though, I think, is actually an oversight. A lot of times you run straight into an enemy after a screen transition. It's not really a surprise given how open-ended this game is. You can reach any point of the map in multiple different ways. Forwards, backwards, in unexpected ways depending on your equipment, and the devs can't account for each and any of your routes. So enemy placement is not always super tight. It's pretty darn good most of the time. But a good number of times you step out a door and are right in an enemy's path, and getting hit because of that is just annoying. Some enemies spawn randomly in an area and there seem to be no safeguards to prevent them from spawning right next to you when you enter, like the goddamn burglar in the hub town. He's also too fast and stealing so many of your bones early on in the game is overly punishing. I guess the devs wanted him to appear very often so you can progress the questline more easily, but damn it, make him less frustrating and don't let him spawn on top of you when you enter the screen. Yeah, there's a few things in this game that are not necessarily a huge deal, but small annoyances I'd be happy to see gone. But I wouldn't lose sleep over it either way. It's minor flaws in an otherwise great game. Tight and varied and most of all challenging combat, a fun and dynamic movement system, a colorful and diverse game world with tons of secrets, a million ways to tackle all the challenges and feel smart for coming up with your own solutions, and of course, lots of that patented Yacht Club charm. I'm having a blast with this game and I discover something ingenious or funny or crazy around every corner. Nothing in this game is formulaic. Instead, every puzzle, every interaction, every character, every environment, every pixel is full of passion. This game is another masterpiece from Yacht Club. More flawed than Shovel Knight, but also so much greater, filled to the brim with great and creative ideas. Not a game for everyone, but for those it speaks to, it will be incredibly rewarding. And with that, I'm off. I wish you an amazing day. This has been Rady, and I hope to see you again on the next game.